Recently on this channel, I've been sharing my own ongoing photography projects, whether it's the rock series that I'm doing in Morro Bay or some of my landscapes in the Outer Banks. But today I want to switch gears a little bit and share some of the photography projects that are already published and that are currently inspiring me. And I think you'll enjoy some of these projects. If you're not already looking at photo books, it's a really beautiful way to consume photography. It's not necessarily as affordable or accessible as looking at pictures online, but when you do just sit down with a good photography book and you can really just look at somebody's work the way that they wanted it to be presented physically, it's a beautiful thing. So let's get into some of these projects, and we'll start with one of the greats, which is Bernd and Ela Becker. Bernd and Ela Becker are a German photography duo who began working in the late 1950s. This book features their framework houses. This style of work is often referred to as a typology. It's an extremely thorough investigation of a specific subject. The Beckers' work, though, goes way beyond houses. This is just one specific set of photos in this book. And what I love about their work is that every shot puts the subject in a similar relation to the sky. The light is always beautifully soft, and the framing is so consistent that it kind of feels like a flip book as you're going through it. The photography itself is so consistent that it really allows you to focus on the nuanced details and aesthetics that change between every frame, and in this case, every house. Bernd and Ela Becker are easily one of my greatest inspirations in the Morro Bay rock project that I've been working on the channel. I think this book is a perfect example that the most everyday and mundane thing can become so interesting when it's like thoroughly investigated through photography, and when you really pick up on all these beautiful nuanced details between these houses. I highly recommend checking out this book or any of their other work if you have not already. The next project I want to share is in a similar vein of the style of photography, but it's a more contemporary and funnier approach. This is Toilets A GoGo by Hidefumi Nakamura. This book was actually published by my friends Handshake Studios. They are a book publisher and design company out of Spain, but similar to Bernd and Ela Becker, this is a typology, except this is of public toilets in Japan, and it's in this beautiful kind of flipbook style here, which I think just makes so much sense for a typology project of this kind. And I think by creating this kind of extensive document of public toilets in Japan, it becomes this really beautiful catalog of like Japanese aesthetics and design. There's so much expression and individuality between each of these buildings. And there's just something so funny about seeing all of the incredible design work that has gone into something like public toilets in Japan. But a really fun little publication from Handshake. I think this is only about 15 euros, which is pretty cool for such a great little project. The next book is a group book by Pomegranate Press and Balam called Playfulness. And I might be a little bit biased about this one because I do have a photo on the back cover of this one, which I was incredibly excited about, and I have a couple images inside the book as well. But there is just something really beautiful about bringing together the work of 60 different photographers in this book with one theme to kind of bring it all together that just makes it really fun to go through. What I find fascinating is that none of the pictures visually in this book are alike. Every photographer brings like a completely different visual style to this project, but the theme of it really ties it all together so nicely. The theme itself is also just really pleasant, making for a very enjoyable book to flip through. I think these kinds of group books are a great way to find new photographers that you might not come across on Instagram or that the algorithm might not show you, but everybody in here is incredibly talented, and group books like this can be a great resource to just find new work as well that you might not be familiar with or that you might not come across in other places. So huge thank you to these guys for including me in this. I'll show you my photo. I submitted a bunch of images and they curated 2 spreads out of them. This spread I particularly love. This is the moon photo that I shot north of San Francisco, and then the fire that was down in Los Angeles. I think this is a pairing that I personally wouldn't have considered, but when I saw it together in the book, it just really works for me. Thank you guys so much. Highly recommend this. That last book was more of a group book of up-and-coming artists. This book, on the other hand, is also a group book, but this is more of a survey of the role that cars played throughout the history of photography. And being a huge car nerd and also somebody who has photographed quite a few of them, this was a really interesting book for me, just to learn about the history and again be introduced to new photographers and new projects that were historically significant and I had not seen yet. As some of you know, I've been working on a series of LA landscapes that are heavily influenced by car infrastructure in the city. And so for me, when I started that project, this was kind of a key read to really become a little more educated on the history of automotive landscapes. But I also just found some new projects through this that brought me so much inspiration and that I was able to look into further beyond this book. And one of the first ones would be Catherine Opie's series of highway landscapes. They are beautifully printed and toned black and white images of freeway overpasses, highway construction, and something that is kind of so ugly just becomes so beautiful in these images through her framing, her composition, and the printmaking process itself as well. Another one in here would be Martin Parr's photos of parking spots. I had never seen these published anywhere else, but they are just a perfectly witty and conceptual, like Martin Parr set of photos. Of course, being Martin Parr, the colors in them are also just gorgeous, and it's these shots of just unparked parking spaces. Finally, another excellent series in here is Ed Ruscha's aerial photos of parking lots in the US. And this is something that feels very typical for the United States, and I think it says a lot about our land use in the US and how we prioritize building our cities here. But again, also, it just becomes a visually striking and beautiful image out of a parking spot, which is essentially nothing. I could talk about like 15 more projects in here, but this is a great way to see a lot of work for the price of one book. This next book is called Permissions, and it's made by Emma Hardy. Now, I think I can confidently say this is absolutely my favorite book that has come out this year in 2023. It's hard for me to even describe this work because the pictures say it better than I ever could, but this is Emma Hardy's first book, and it features 20 years worth of photos. It's a collection of pictures of her family, and it's filled with portraits of her kids and her mother. Every single image in this book is absolutely breathtaking. Whether it's a portrait of one of her kids in one of these very soft and tender moments, or it's like a still life landscape that really just represents this specific time of year. The colors, the compositions, the textures in here are so beautiful. Something in particular that I really love about this project and that I really took away being inspired from it is the role that the seasons play. This book is set on the East Coast, and maybe it's me being a little bit nostalgic about the East Coast, growing up there myself and seeing kids in these images, but almost every photo has this distinct feeling of a season, whether it's summer, fall, winter, or spring. Like, every photo has a distinct sense of the time of year that it was made in. This is kind of an emotional project as well, and I think I've shown this book to anybody who comes by my apartment and asks to see a cool project. Absolutely gorgeous. The final project I want to share is Preston Bus Station by Jamie Hawksworth, and this book has become quite expensive, I believe, but This is Jamie Hawksworth's first project, and this was a very early inspiration for me getting into darkroom printing, and I think for seeing light in a certain kind of way. I think when he heard that this beautiful, like brutalist bus station was at risk of being torn down, Jamie Hawksworth moved back to Preston to kind of walk loops of this bus station all day and document the people that are in it and the light and the beautiful architecture of it. Being a fashion photographer, I think there's a lot of really beautiful portraits in here that highlight people's self-expression through their clothing, their hair, their makeup, and then also paired with these beautiful landscapes and architectural photos of the bus station. It just has a really nice sense of place throughout. Beautiful document, and again, a testament to how something so mundane and everyday can become so fascinating and interesting when you commit the time to it and you commit to really studying it. Beautiful book. I think this one's out of print, but I just thought it was great to throw in there as well. I hope one of the 7 projects in this video was interesting. I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you enjoy these kinds of photo book videos talking about other people's work. I personally love buying photography books, so it's a great excuse for me. Anyway, thank you for watching, and finally thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Squarespace is an incredible all-in-one website building platform that you can use to build your photography portfolio online. I've been using Squarespace for so many years now, and they've made it so easy to get a website up and running with my photography. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, you can hit the link in my description for a 14-day free trial of Squarespace. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Willem for 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. I'll see you guys next week with another video. Thank you so much for watching. Peace.